There's a reason Capricorn is feared, misunderstood, and revered all at once. Not because they say too much, but because they reveal nothing until it's too late. Behind every successful Capricorn is a mountain of silent battles, invisible scars, and choices they made when no one was watching. You think you know them because they let you see 5% of who they truly are. But what if I told you that beneath their ambition, beneath their calm voice, beneath the way they control every situation is a soul that was chosen to carry the weight of time? What if their silence wasn't pride, but protection? What if their distance wasn't coldness, but a sacred test designed to see if you're worthy of the real them? This isn't another Zodiac video listing traits you've already heard. This is a revelation, a decoding, a spiritual unveiling of 20 hidden psychological truths about Capricorn, the ones only the wisest observers ever notice. Because Capricorn isn't just a sign, it's a soul contract, a divine mission signed in solitude with Saturn as witness. So if you're a Capricorn, or if you've ever loved one, lean in. What you're about to hear may finally explain why nothing and no one ever quite felt like you. Let's begin. Secret number 1, the silence is a shield. Capricorns don't just go silent. They retreat into themselves like a fortress built high on a spiritual mountain, inaccessible to most. To the untrained eye, this silence can look cold, even cruel. But make no mistake, Capricorn's silence is a shield. It's the first line of defense when their boundaries are being tested, their emotions are stirred, or their trust is on shaky ground. Why? Because this earth sign was never designed for chaos. Ruled by Saturn, the planet of discipline and karmic lessons, Capricorn was engineered for structure, order, and spiritual responsibility. When life gets noisy, unpredictable, or emotionally overwhelming, Capricorn doesn't lash out, they shut in. They disappear not to escape, but to recalibrate, to rebuild their inner walls and realign with their core. Let me tell you about David, a Capricorn client I once counseled. He was a senior executive, respected, organized, seemingly unshakable. But when his partner accused him of being emotionally distant, David said only one thing. When people speak from emotion, I listen in silence. I need silence to understand what's real. That wasn't avoidance. That was Capricorn's way of grounding, processing, holding space until they can respond with clarity instead of chaos. But here's the catch. Most people can't handle that kind of stillness. They rush in, demand answers, push for connection too quickly, and in doing so, they lose Capricorn's trust forever. Because silence is not their weakness. It is the sacred space where they reclaim their power. Life lesson. If someone goes quiet, don't chase the noise, listen to what the silence is trying to protect. Secret number 2, their heart is a fortress. Capricorns don't fall in love. They build love brick by brick, over time, with care, calculation, and quiet reverence. Unlike signs that dive headfirst into romantic oceans, Capricorn stands back and watches the waves. They study the tides before they ever step in. Why? Because their heart is a fortress, not a field. And not everyone deserves entry. This doesn't mean they don't feel deeply. On the contrary, Capricorn is one of the most intense lovers of the zodiac. But they express love through action, not performance. Through long-term investment, not fleeting passion. Through loyalty over words. Many misread this. They assume Capricorn is emotionally unavailable or afraid of intimacy. But the truth is, they've simply learned that some people love the idea of a strong soul, but flee when they meet the weight of it in real life. I remember working with Kira, a Capricorn woman in her mid-30s. She said, "They loved my strength until it stopped serving them. Then suddenly I was cold." What people didn't see was the way she showed up for her loved ones silently, how she remembered their fears, protected their dreams, and made sacrifices she never spoke about. Her love was in the doing, not the saying. That's Capricorn. They don't open their heart with keys. They open it with time, with testing, with consistency. And once inside, you'll find a love so steady, so rare, that leaving it would feel like tearing down a cathedral, not just ending a relationship. If you're with a Capricorn, don't rush them. Don't beg them to be like everyone else. Their love may take longer to bloom, but once it does, it doesn't die. Life lesson. Some hearts aren't closed, they're sacred. Treat them like temples, not playgrounds. Secret number 3, discipline is sacred. Most people think Capricorn is obsessed with control. Schedules, routines, goals, deadlines, it looks rigid, even exhausting. But what outsiders see as obsession, Capricorn experiences as devotion. To Capricorn, discipline isn't a chore. It's a form of spiritual order. A way to create clarity in a chaotic world. A sacred practice that keeps their soul aligned with purpose. You see, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, the planet of karmic lessons, divine timing, and long-term structure. While others seek immediate pleasure, Capricorn seeks eternal meaning. They're not here for speed, they're here for substance. This is why Capricorn wakes up early. Why they make long-term plans. Why they do the hard things no one else wants to do. Not for applause. Not for control. But for alignment. Take Jordan, a Capricorn man I once met during a workshop on sacred habits. While others shared struggles with procrastination, Jordan said calmly, "I don't wake up at 5 a.m. because I enjoy it. I do it because I promised the 10-year older version of me that I would." That's what makes Capricorn different. Their self-discipline is a love letter to their future self. But here's the irony. Most people mock what they don't understand. They say Capricorn is too serious, too focused, too stuck. And yet, it's Capricorn who holds the family together. It's Capricorn who builds the legacy others will stand on. It's Capricorn who creates the life others only dream about. Because their discipline is not about control. It's about becoming who they were born to be, without distraction. Life lesson. Discipline is remembering what you want even after the world forgets why it matters. Secret number 4, the pain becomes a map. Pain doesn't break a Capricorn. It builds them. Every scar, every betrayal, every disappointment becomes a quiet blueprint for how they move forward in life. Where others see pain as something to avoid, Capricorn sees it as information. As feedback. As the divine map of what not to repeat. This is what most people never realize about Capricorn. They rarely make the same mistake twice. Not because they're perfect, but because they remember. Every lesson. Every crack in the foundation. Every time they trusted too soon, gave too much, stayed too long. And when they hurt, they don't scream. They recalculate. Capricorns are masters at converting emotional wounds into wisdom. Instead of spiraling, they study. Instead of blaming, they rebuild. And instead of repeating, they evolve. I remember Naomi, a Capricorn woman I worked with after the end of a long relationship. She'd been left without explanation, ghosted after 5 years. No closure. Just silence. She told me this. I didn't chase him. I chased the version of me that ignored the red flags. That's Capricorn. They don't crumble. They refine. What seems like emotional distance is often deep internal work. And while others see them moving on too quickly, they're not skipping steps, they're honoring the pain by turning it into structure. Because every heartbreak becomes a chapter in their inner blueprint. And every chapter takes them one step closer to the life they were meant to build. Life lesson. Pain isn't a punishment, it's a compass. Let it point you toward the person you refuse to become again. Secret number 5. Success is not a goal, it's a calling. For Capricorn, success isn't optional. It's not something they want, it's something they owe. From a young age, most Capricorns feel the silent pressure to rise above, to prove themselves, to carry the weight that no one else seems willing to bear. But here's the truth most people don't see. Capricorn's ambition doesn't come from ego. It comes from duty. They don't chase titles. They chase security. They chase dignity. They chase the version of life where no one can take anything from them again. Why? Because deep down, Capricorn knows what it feels like to have nothing. To be overlooked. To be underestimated. To watch others get rewarded for shortcuts while they silently build from the ground up. But they never forget that feeling, and that's exactly why they never quit. I once spoke with Marcus, a Capricorn man who had built a multi-million-dollar business by 32. I asked him what drove him. His answer was simple. I don't do this for applause. I do it because no one ever came to save me. So I became the kind of man who could save others. Capricorn's success is not about luxury. It's about legacy. It's not about being seen. It's about being respected when no one's looking. That's why they don't talk much about their wins. They don't need to. The mountain they climbed speaks louder than any words ever could. Life lesson. True success isn't about proving people wrong, it's about proving to yourself that you were right to keep going. Secret number 6. Their smile hides storms. Capricorn is the master of the composed face. You see them at work calm, clear-headed, always reliable. You see them at family gatherings, polite, thoughtful, taking care of everything behind the scenes. You see them in public, smiling just enough to make you think everything is under control. But here's what most people miss. That smile. It's often covering a storm that's been raging inside them for weeks. Capricorn doesn't like to burden others. They were raised or karmically programmed to be the strong one, the stabilizer, the anchor. And over time, they learned a dangerous equation. If I express too much, I become a liability. So what do they do instead? They push it down. They breathe through it. They get back to work. I once coached Lena, a Capricorn woman who had just lost her father, broken up with her fiancé, and taken custody of her little brother all within the same month. When I asked how she was holding up, she said, I cry in the car between meetings. Then I fix my lipstick, and I show up. That's the Capricorn way. They process pain on their own time, in private, so they can remain dependable in public. But this strength is a double-edged sword. Because the world sees them smiling, and forgets to ask if they're okay. And Capricorn, out of habit, never tells them otherwise. They'll say I'm fine when they're drowning. They'll carry 3 people's emotional weight and never ask for help. They'll crack a joke to avoid showing you their tears. Not because they want to hide, but because they think they have to. Life lesson. Don't assume silence means peace, and never assume a smile means healing. Ask deeper. Especially with the strongest ones. Secret number 7. They don't trust, they test. Capricorn doesn't hand out trust. They observe. They wait. They test you in silence, and most people don't even realize it's happening. You see, trust for a Capricorn isn't an emotional impulse. It's a strategic decision. They watch how you speak when you're angry. They notice whether you follow through on what you promised. They track your energy, not just your words. And if something feels off, they don't confront you. They retreat. That's the thing about Capricorn, their tests are energetic. Subtle. They'll cancel plans just to see how you respond. They'll go quiet to feel how loud your silence becomes. It's not manipulation. It's protection. They've been betrayed too many times by people who seemed kind at first. They've opened their heart and paid a heavy price for it. So now, they build gates, not walls, but gates with locks. And every key must be earned. I remember Anthony, a Capricorn client who had just started dating again after years of isolation. He told me this. If someone gets upset when I create space, I already know they won't survive the depth of who I am. That's what people miss. Capricorn isn't guarded because they're cold. They're guarded because their loyalty is sacred, and they refuse to offer it to someone who hasn't earned the right to carry it. And if you pass their silent tests, you'll find a love built on something far stronger than emotion. You'll find a loyalty that doesn't crack under pressure. You'll find a partner who won't flinch when life falls apart. Life lesson. Sometimes someone is testing you not to judge you, but to see if their soul is safe in your hands. Secret number 8. Control is survival. Capricorns are often labeled as controlling, too structured, too rigid, too obsessed with details. But what people fail to see is that for Capricorn, control is not about power, it's about survival. They don't micromanage because they enjoy dominance. They do it because they've learned, often from a young age, that when things fall apart, no one else is coming to fix it. If they don't hold the plan together, the entire system collapses. Capricorn learned this not from theory, but from experience. They were often the child who had to grow up too fast. The sibling who held the household steady. The partner who became the emotional anchor in a sinking relationship. So yes, they like a clean room, a working schedule, a mapped-out future. But it's not for show. It's because chaos traumatizes them more than they'll ever admit. I remember Renee, a Capricorn woman who planned every hour of her day, down to what time she drank her tea. When someone teased her about being too intense, she said this: "When I know what's coming next, I can breathe. When I don't, I can't think." That's Capricorn. They don't control because they're tyrants. They control because they know what it's like to live in a world where nothing felt safe. So the next time a Capricorn seems too much, ask yourself, is this about control? Or is this about a nervous system trained to prepare for the worst? Because in their world, control isn't a vice. It's a lifeline. Life lesson. Don't judge someone's need for control, it may be the very thing that once kept them from falling apart. Secret number 9, time is their superpower. Capricorn does not rush. They're not slow, they're precise. They don't move late, they move when the time is right. In a world obsessed with urgency, Capricorn is the rare soul who trusts divine timing more than instant gratification. That's not laziness. That's alignment. Ruled by Saturn, the lord of time and karma, Capricorn understands something most signs ignore: anything rushed is rarely worth keeping. So they wait. They watch. They calculate every step, not because they fear failure, but because they want the foundation to last 100 years. Capricorn knows that speed is seductive, but stability is sacred. I remember Elijah, a Capricorn entrepreneur who spent 8 years developing a single idea while others laughed, pivoted, and cashed out early. When I asked why he kept going, he said, "Because I'm not building a product. I'm building a legacy." That's the Capricorn way. They take longer. But what they create outlives the noise. This is also why many Capricorns bloom late in life. While others peak in their 20s, Capricorn is just laying bricks, slowly, methodically, intentionally. And then one day, they rise. Not with a bang, but with a structure so solid, the world can't deny it anymore. They don't compete for attention. They build things that last longer than attention spans. Life lesson. Don't confuse delay with denial. Some blessings take longer because they're built to endure. Secret number 10, they love in layers. Capricorn doesn't fall in love all at once. They don't declare it loudly. They don't drown in romance. They build love in layers. Quietly, carefully, deeply. To love a Capricorn is to walk through a temple, not a carnival. It takes time. It takes stillness. And it takes the kind of patience most people aren't willing to give. Because Capricorn tests with silence. They express with actions. And they open one door at a time, never the whole house all at once. Their affection might start as subtle care. A check-in. A favor done without asking. Remembering something you said months ago. Then, when they feel safe, they go deeper. They'll share stories from their childhood. Introduce you to their sacred routines. Let you into the parts of themselves they've kept hidden for years. I once worked with Claire, a Capricorn woman in her 40s, who had been in a loving marriage for over a decade. Her husband said, "I fall in love with her more every year, because she reveals parts of herself I didn't even know were there. She loves in layers I'm still discovering." That's the magic of Capricorn. Their love is not a spark. It's an ancient fire that was never meant to burn fast, but to burn forever. Life lesson. Some hearts don't erupt. They unfold like sacred scrolls written one revelation at a time. Secret number 11, they remember everything. Capricorns have long memories. Not just factual ones, emotional ones. They remember who showed up when no one else did. And they remember who disappeared when they needed them most. They may not say anything. They may keep smiling. They may even forgive. But they never forget. Capricorn stores emotional data the way a historian keeps sacred records, not to seek revenge, but to protect their peace. They're not petty. They're precise. They remember the promises you broke. The tone you used when you thought they weren't listening. The energy shift in a room the moment you stopped believing in them. And while others brush these things off as just life, Capricorn files them quietly and adjusts. I once counseled Micah, a Capricorn man who had been betrayed by a lifelong friend. Years passed. The friend apologized. Micah nodded and said, "I accept the apology, but I've updated the trust level permanently." He didn't hate him. He didn't lash out. He simply remembered and reorganized the relationship accordingly. That's the power of Capricorn's memory. They don't need to scream to make decisions. They observe, record, and respond with cold precision. This is why you should never mistake their silence for forgetfulness. If anything, silence means they're observing more than you realize. Life lesson. Some people remember not to punish you, but to protect themselves from ever needing to heal from you again. Secret number 12, they carry the family's weight. There's something unspoken about most Capricorns. A kind of invisible pressure, an unexplainable weight on their shoulders, as if they were born responsible. And they were. Capricorn doesn't just grow up, they grow up fast. Faster than their siblings. Faster than their friends. Faster than their own emotions can catch up. Why? Because somewhere along the karmic line, the family chose them. Or maybe the soul of Capricorn volunteered to carry the burdens no one else could hold. The unspoken pain. The generational debts. The unresolved conflict. The survival of everyone around them. Capricorn becomes the provider before they even understand what childhood means. I worked with Eliza, a Capricorn client who, at only 12 years old, was already cooking dinner, managing bills, and comforting a mother who had lost herself to depression. Years later, I asked her how she survived all that. She said, "I didn't have time to fall apart. Someone had to keep things standing." That sentence broke me. And yet, it defines the Capricorn experience. They don't complain. They don't collapse. They don't ask, "Why me?" Because deep down, Capricorn knows. They're not just here for themselves. They are the bridge, the backbone, the soul that breaks the cycle so the next generation can breathe. Life lesson. Some people were never given peace because their destiny was to become the one who creates it. Secret number 13, emotions are translated into action. Capricorn doesn't talk about how they feel. They show it. In ways so subtle, most people miss it completely. While other signs might cry, vent, or romanticize their emotions, Capricorn turns every feeling into a move. They don't sit in sadness. They reorganize the house. They don't declare love. They make sure your car has gas. They don't beg for forgiveness. They show up and do better. To outsiders, this can seem cold, detached, unemotional. But that couldn't be further from the truth. You see, Capricorn is fluent in a language most never bother to learn, the language of quiet devotion. I once coached Noah, a Capricorn father who had trouble connecting emotionally with his teenage son. When asked why he never said "I love you," he looked down and whispered, "I work 12 hours a day so my son never has to know the kind of hunger I grew up with." That is love. That's the Capricorn paradox. They feel deeply. They just don't express it the way the world expects. Their pain becomes structure. Their joy becomes protection. Their love becomes work, sacrifice, presence. And if you don't know how to read it, you'll mistake it all for indifference. But if you do, if you really see them, you'll realize they've been speaking love all along, just in a different frequency. Life lesson. Not all love is spoken. Sometimes it's packed into quiet actions, and only the patient will hear it. Secret number 14. Chaos triggers their shadow. Capricorn appears calm, collected, composed. But that's only because they've built a life designed to contain their chaos. Schedules, boundaries, structure, planning. All of it isn't just preference, it's protection. A self-constructed fortress to keep the storm inside from spilling out. But when that structure breaks, when life gets messy, erratic, and unpredictable, Capricorn doesn't melt down like other signs. They transform. And what emerges is not pretty. It's sharp, cold, ruthlessly efficient. Their shadow is made of pure control, and if it takes over, everything becomes a system to fix, including you. They'll shut off emotionally, cut you off silently, reorganize their entire life overnight if they have to. Because Capricorn's shadow doesn't scream. It calculates. I remember Leo, a Capricorn client who ran a non-profit. When internal politics turned the organization into chaos, he didn't argue. He didn't beg. He didn't burn bridges. He said, "I cleared the board. Fired everyone. Rebuilt from zero. I'm not here to be liked, I'm here to protect the mission." That's the Capricorn shadow. It's not evil. It's surgical. But it shows up when Capricorn's inner world feels endangered, when too much emotional noise threatens the internal systems they've built to survive. This is why it's vital to honor their need for order. Not to control them, but to help them stay connected to their light. Because their shadow isn't a monster. It's a guardian, forged in years of having no one else to rely on. Life lesson. Before you judge someone's darkness, ask yourself what they had to survive without a flashlight. Secret number 15. They're not cold, they're calculated. Capricorn is often accused of being emotionally distant, even cold. But what people call cold is actually something far more powerful, calculation rooted in self-preservation. Capricorns don't react. They assess. They don't explode. They observe. They don't lash out in the moment. They gather data, connect patterns, and respond only when the dust has settled and they've already seen 3 moves ahead. This isn't because they lack feeling. It's because they've learned what emotional chaos can cost. Capricorn was likely the one who stayed calm while others lost their minds. The one who cleaned up the emotional mess no one else could handle. The one who learned early that feelings can be used against you if you don't learn how to manage them. So they did. Now, when you're crying, yelling, or spinning in circles, Capricorn might seem unfazed. But it's not because they don't care. It's because they've already entered problem-solving mode. I worked with Jonas, a Capricorn manager who once told me, "When someone panics, I go cold. Not because I'm numb, but because someone has to stay level-headed enough to steer the ship." That's the Capricorn gift. They may not hold your hand through the storm, but they'll build the shelter. They'll anchor the boat. They'll walk through fire and come back with a plan. They don't need to perform emotions to prove they feel. They feel deeply, but they act wisely. Life lesson. Don't confuse emotional control with emotional absence. Some people love you best by staying calm when the world starts burning. Secret number 16. Vulnerability is a privilege. Capricorns don't open up easily. Not because they have nothing to say, but because what they feel runs so deep, so ancient, so raw, that sharing it feels like removing armor in the middle of a battlefield. They've learned to stay strong, to stay busy, to stay focused. Because the last time they let someone see their wounds, it wasn't met with tenderness, it was met with weakness, or worse, manipulation. So now, they hide it. Not out of fear, but out of wisdom. To Capricorn, vulnerability isn't a performance. It's a privilege. It's sacred, earned, timed. They don't open the gates just because someone asks, they open them when someone proves they're not just curious, but safe. I once worked with Samantha, a Capricorn woman who said, "I can give speeches to 300 people, run a company, handle a crisis, but saying I'm scared to someone I love? That terrifies me more than any of that." Because for Capricorn, vulnerability doesn't mean weakness, it means exposure. And exposure without safety is trauma waiting to happen. But when they do open up, when they let you in, you'll know. Not because they cry, not because they say it outright, but because they start to show you the parts they usually protect. Their childhood dreams, their spiritual beliefs, their quiet insecurities. And in that moment, you are not just close to them, you are inside their sacred circle. Treat it with reverence, because few will ever get that far. Life lesson. Vulnerability is not about being open, it's about knowing who deserves to witness what lives beneath your armor. Secret number 17. They're building a legacy. Capricorn doesn't live for applause. They live for impact. Quiet, lasting, undeniable impact. While the world chases likes, trends, and validation, Capricorn is over here pouring concrete into foundations no one sees, not because they want praise, but because they know that anything worth keeping takes time to build. They're not chasing a moment. They're constructing a legacy. Every decision they make, from the career they choose, to the partner they love, to the way they raise their children, is filtered through this unspoken question. Will this last? They don't waste time. They don't make noise. They don't play with fire they don't intend to tend. Capricorn builds slowly, methodically, purposefully, brick by brick. And when the rest of the world has moved on to the next distraction, Capricorn is still there, laying one more stone. I once worked with George, a Capricorn architect. While others rushed to design flashy buildings, he took 6 years to design one school. When asked why, he said, "Because 50 years from now, a child I'll never meet will walk through that door. That matters more to me than any award." That's what people don't see about Capricorn. Their effort isn't for today. It's for tomorrow's tomorrow. And when they die, they want to know that what they built in business, in love, in character, will still be standing long after their name is forgotten. Because they don't need to be remembered. They just need what they stood for to keep echoing. Life lesson. Don't live for attention. Live for legacy, because what you build in silence might outlive everything built in the spotlight. Secret number 18. Failure feeds their fire. Most people fear failure. Capricorn feeds on it. While others collapse, Capricorn calculates. While others run, they rebuild. And while others lose faith, Capricorn forges a deeper one, not in the world, but in themselves. This isn't because they enjoy pain. It's because pain taught them where their real power lives. Capricorn understands something most don't. Failure isn't the end, it's a forge. A spiritual fire that burns away what's weak and leaves behind only what's meant to endure. Every misstep, a lesson. Every rejection, redirection. Every loss, refinement. They don't romanticize failure, they study it. They mine it for wisdom. And then they quietly come back stronger, often without saying a word. I once spoke with Layla, a Capricorn woman who lost her business, her marriage, and her health all in the same year. When I asked her how she didn't break, she smiled and said, "I didn't have time to break. I was too busy learning how to rebuild with better blueprints." That's the Capricorn spirit. They don't stay down. They don't play victim. They return as the version of themselves that failure demanded they become. And when they rise, they don't need applause. They are the proof. Life lesson. Failure isn't meant to defeat you. It's meant to introduce you to the version of yourself you would have never met without it. Secret number 19. Loyalty is law. To Capricorn, loyalty isn't negotiable. It's not a suggestion. It's not something you hope for in a relationship. It's law. They don't give it easily because they know exactly what it costs. But once it's given, it is absolute. Capricorn will stand by you in the dark. Defend you when you're not in the room. Carry your name on their back when others forget who you are. But the moment you break that bond, you don't just lose their trust. You lose access to their soul. They won't scream. They won't chase. They won't destroy you. They'll simply disappear. Not out of hate, but out of honor for the contract you broke. You see, Capricorn doesn't view loyalty as emotion. They view it as a sacred agreement. A soul-level covenant that says, if I'm with you all the way. I once met Victor, a Capricorn man whose best friend of 20 years betrayed him for a business deal. He said something I'll never forget. It's not the betrayal that hurt. It's that he thought loyalty was optional. To me, it's everything. And that's what people often miss about Capricorn. They don't ask for constant affection. They don't demand perfect behavior. But they do expect loyalty because it's what they live by. They don't love halfway. They don't commit halfway. And they don't forgive betrayal just because time has passed. Life lesson. Loyalty is not about being perfect, it's about being consistent, even when no one is watching. For some souls, that's the only currency that matters. Secret number 20. God made them builders. Capricorn doesn't chase noise. They don't crave fame. They don't seek shallow highs. Because they were never built for the surface. They were built for depth. For substance. For the slow, sacred work of construction in the physical world, and in the unseen world of legacy, duty, and purpose. While others dream about freedom, Capricorn dreams about structure. While others seek escape, Capricorn seeks stability. Why? Because God made them builders. Of homes, of businesses, of families, of entire bloodlines. And not just builders of things, but builders of order in a world addicted to chaos. They are the mountain goats, not by accident, but by divine assignment. Climbers, strategists, the ones who keep going when the rest of the world gets tired, not because it's easy, but because it is required. Capricorn doesn't carry light energy. They carry heavy spiritual contracts. The kind that no one sees, but everyone benefits from. I once worked with Yasmin, a Capricorn who lost everything in a storm: her house, her business, her community center. 3 weeks later, while still living in a trailer, she began rebuilding all three, not because she had to, but because that's who she was. She told me, "If I don't rebuild, who will?" That's what I was made for. And that, right there, is the soul of Capricorn. They were made to build what others never had the courage to start. And to finish it even if no one applauds. Life lesson. You were not sent here to fit in, you were sent here to construct what will outlast you. Honor that calling, even when it feels invisible. Now you understand. Capricorn is not cold. They are sacredly structured. They are not distant. They are selectively open. They are not emotionless. They are deep wells of loyalty, pain, and purpose, too vast to be seen at first glance. The world often misunderstands them, because the world fears what it cannot control. And Capricorn, they were never here to be controlled. They were sent here to stabilize chaos, to transform pain into precision, to build what others will inherit but never understand how it was built. If you are a Capricorn watching this, you do not need to be louder. You do not need to explain yourself. You do not need to soften to be loved. Because your power is not in performance. It is in your presence. You are the mountain. You are the blueprint. You are the one chosen to finish what others were too afraid to begin. Honor that. Call to action. If this spoke to you, not just your mind, but your soul, then this space was made for you. Subscribe to Zodiac Secrets Revealed, where your truth is not only seen, but sacredly respected. And where every sign, every silence, and every scar finally makes sense. We'll meet you where your wisdom lives. In the quiet, in the depth, in the place where secrets are finally revealed.